Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. A slightly different video for you this time. We found this Subaru Impreza in a guy's yard and thought it'd make a good project. This is it. It's a 1994 Subaru Impreza Turbo. It's a WRX. Been stood for 16 years, believe it or not. 14 years with one owner, and then the last 2 years with a different owner who hasn't actually completed much. I think his intention was to pull the engine out, put a new clutch in it, do a timing belt, and then carry on with a bit of a resto or something. The car's not in terrible condition, considering it's been stood in Wales for 16 years. Overall, it's not too bad. It's complete. It's got some nice features, carbon alloys here. There's some bits in the boot, some sills and bits and bobs. The radiator there, you can see, obviously they started taking the bits out the front to get the engine out. There's a bit of rust in places on this side. You can see the rear arch is good. And the sill is actually good, although there's a bit of surface rust there and surface rust on the door. And then you can see the wings rotten at the bottom there on this side. Inside, the interior is in good shape. It's actually quite clean considering how long it's been stood. It just wants a valet and a good vacuum out and cleaning and everything. And the seats obviously are putting back. One cool feature is this factory Subaru bolt-in roll cage, which I believe is pretty rare, but is also quite a cool feature. On the other side, similar to the passenger side, inside obviously really good condition. It's got a nice aftermarket steering wheel. There was a good puddle of water that you can see there in the driver's footwell, just where it's been stood, and the water has been coming in, filling the car up, and it's puddled at this footwell, which is something we need to address super quick, because we don't want the floors rotting out. And then you can see on this side, the sill is not in great condition and is fairly rotten. And then also the rear arch, which is super common on these, is also quite rotten. And you can see here, I'm just pulling out some factory, or what I believe to be is factory sealant, like panel sealant, which is probably why these rot out as much as they do rot out. So that's going to need addressing. And then you can see random bits of rust in really obscure places, like around the windscreen, just in a few places. I'm just going to take care of this rust temporarily so it doesn't continue too much by using some Zero Prep from Buzzweld, which you literally just spray on the rust and it just coats it and protects it and stops it from continuing to rust while you carry on with other projects, because I don't know how long it's going to be until we get round to these part of the project. So working inside then, the first job was to get all that water out. I wanted to strip the seats out, get the carpet out and start to get all that pooling water out. So I drilled a hole in the factory drain plug in the footwell so that it could drain out. I had a dehumidifier in there running like 24/7 for days, just to get the damp and the water and everything to dry up. So I'm going to pull this engine out. I want to change the timing belt and gear and everything that's in there anyway, and then we need to change the clutch. And I'm also going to whip the sump off and have a look at the rod ends and the main ends and stuff and just see how they are. Apparently it's been rebuilt, so we'll soon find out. And literally everything has been taken off, ready to get it out, so it's just sitting there on its engine mount. So I've just chucked strap round, and I'm going to see if it will come out. Next job then for me was to get the engine out. Obviously it had already been pretty much pulled out. I think there was like one bolt maybe. I think actually thinking about it, I think everything was disconnected, so it was just a case of lifting it out. It's not a huge engine, so it wasn't too difficult to do.
Keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Just taking my time as well to get it out, because I don't want to damage any of the sort of the cross member or the flitch panel, or rip anything off of it that I don't need to rip off.
Stop.
But there we go, got it on a pallet, ready to go in the workshop. Got the engine inside now. I'm going to start by chucking a new clutch on it, cleaning up all the flywheel and everything. That's the old one there that we took off. It wasn't seized or anything, it's not in horrendous condition, but you can see, like, it's not worn out, but there we go, you can see it feathering at the edges, like it's not for long in this world. So yeah, we'll get that cleaned up, get the new one fitted. Time to look at the cam belt now then. So I'm going to start by stripping off the pulleys and bits to get to it first.
So I've got the belt covers and everything off, and alternator and everything off, and it looks really good actually. You can see it by this bearing and how nice that is. There's surface rust on it because it's been sat obviously, but they really haven't done that much, which is good. So I've just lined up all the timing marks just for now, but a couple of observations when I pulled it off. The alternator obviously sits up here. On the bottom of it you can just see here that it's like shiny. So I was trying to get it off and I couldn't untension it, and so it's got this aftermarket oil pressure gauge. So I've got to look at moving that, I think, so that we can get the alternator back in there properly. And then the other issue that I spotted was this. So at some point that crank pulley has come loose. It wasn't loose, or something's happened in its life. It's bowed out. And it's chewed that cover up, so I'll look at getting that swapped out. Otherwise we're ready to start taking the belt off, swapping it over. So I'm going to jump on with the cam belt now, the timing belt, and I'm going to start by whipping off the tensioner and all these idlers and stuff, and then get the belt out. Got a new Gates kit here with a belt, and it comes with all the idlers and tensioners and stuff, and then also a new water pump. There's the tensioner, and then I've got a thermostat, genuine thermostat to go in as well. So just need to jump on and get pulling this apart. So just putting the tensioner back on, realised that when it came off, you've got that M10 bolt in that hole there, and that's a 16mm hole. And that's how it was, that's how it came off. And I've done a bit of research, and there's supposed to be like a top hat in there that then reduces it to 10mm so the bolt goes in, and then it bolts up onto there. So what I've done is managed to find in our stuff 2 of these top hats, which are exactly 16mm on the outside and 10mm on the inside by chance, and it means that that's now as it should be, and will go on there properly. So this was rebuilt, the engine was rebuilt, which we know, and then the cam belt put on without that on the tensioner, so that was just waiting to go bang, I think. The other issue I've got then is this tensioner bolt hole there, annoyingly, which you can't quite see, has stripped the threads like part way down, so I'm gonna have to drill that out and helical that out. Just get it lifted onto these ramps so I can get under it a bit easier. So it's in there. I'm just hooking up bits now. I've got starter motor in the new clutch slave in there, and everything back here bolted up, apart from these fuel lines. I need to have a quick Google and see where they go, which one they go to. Otherwise that side's done, apart from a battery. And then there's this stuff here, which is for this Defi gauge thing, so I'm going to leave that as it is. And then on this side I'm just going to put steering pipes in now. I've got this guy to figure out, I think that's throttle cable there, and a load of plugs down here, so I'm just going to jump on that. Do a bit more and load the clutch up, so I've got a pedal, which is awesome. New slave in there. Managed to get brake fluid everywhere, obviously. Next up, I'm going to drop the intercooler in there, and then that'll take care of a couple of my pipes. Go to places, that's less things to figure out, and then I'm going to drop the cold air on there as well. So I've got a few more bits in. I've got this, I'm guessing is a vacuum canister or something in, header tank in, and that tidied up a bunch of bits and bobs. The only thing I've got is this plug here that I don't know where that goes. It doesn't match up to anything, but I don't know if it's something that's been taken out. I've got to mount this guy. I don't know where that was mounted. It's aftermarket, obviously, so it kind of doesn't matter. I've left one fuel pipe off, so that's from the filter, from the tank. Battery's got to go in, and then radiator, which I've got there. So I'm going to throw that in, and then finish off the extra bits of pipe work and plugs, and then see what's left. But it'll just be those couple of things, I think. So this car's got different injectors in it than what it should have from factory, and they look like that. And then what somebody's done is they've cut the plugs, because these are for the old injectors. They've cut the plugs and just done whatever the hell this is. So I've ordered the proper plugs for it, and we're just deep-inning them and putting the new ones on. There we go, got them all swapped over so they're on proper plugs now. There we go, one engine complete. I'm back in, including the strut brace, rods all in. Everything's pretty much accounted for apart from that plug still. No idea what that is. And then I've got this guy, which is the Deafy thing, so I'm guessing that's some sort of boost gauge job, but I can't find where that goes on to. There isn't anything that I can see that's missing. There's also this guy, don't know what that's for. Again, can't see anything. There's nothing down there, maybe that's hiding. And other than that, I think everything's where it should be. So, next job is to get fuel up here. Obviously this car hasn't run in 16 years, so I need to get fuel from the back to here, but there probably is no fuel in the tank, and if there is, it's dead. So I'm just going to pump it out of here, get rid of it, swap that filter out, and make sure we've got good clean fuel going in. And then I'm going to change the oil filter and the oil, get some coolant in it, and then we're good to go. I've tried to get fuel pressure on this so I can swap out the filter and everything and make sure we've got fuel, and then stick some new fuel in and clear out all the lines and everything, because obviously it's been stood, but I can't get anywhere with it. So I'm going to whip out the pump because I think it might be seized. I've got 12 volts here, so everything's working as it should. Apart from that guy, so I'm going to whip this out and see if it's seized. So this will be why the fuel pump doesn't work, because it looks like it's been living in the sea. What the? Just swapping out the fuel filter, that's the old one. Not been swapped in 16 years. Got a genuine Bosch one to go in. Right, new filter in, primed, and let's fire it up. Genuine Subaru filter going on for the oil filter. Managed to find a battery, stole it off another car. I didn't think I'd have one small enough to go in there because it's tiny really compared to all the bigger stuff that we have. A moment of truth then, I guess. So I've chucked a battery on it. And we're going to see if one, we've got any power, and two, if it does anything. No power. Flat battery probably. Turns out the battery that I stole was flat, so we've got some M57 power on the go. Right, so we've got the Ranger hooked up. Let's see what we get. A beep. Okay, don't know what that is. There's gauges. Ignition on. And just lots of beeping. The radio's going. Check engine. Almost there, bro. That guy's beeping. It's the oil pressure one, so I'm guessing there's no oil pressure. Beeping. I haven't done anything. Don't know that. We need more power. This guy down here, what's this? Cyberlight? Microlight? Is it just a little light or is it something off? I don't know. After a bit of messing around, I think the battery, that little guy, was not in a good state. So I've lodged this in there, which doesn't fit, but has power, and then I've also got the Ranger on the go as well. And it was just clicking, you know, like when you've got a flat battery. It's just clicking and doing nothing else. But now, after I tapped the starter motor, it was obviously stuck. And I get it turning over. So I want to get that oil pressure light out. Would have been nice to have it go out a bit earlier than that. Right, that sucks. That's the oil pressure gauge that's doing that and making all that noise. So, now what do we do? So I tried a few things and I can't get oil pressure on this. So I need to investigate further, which means having a look at the oil pump. I'm going to start with the pressure release valve just in case that's stuck. But that's behind here, so I've got to take the radiator back out, get all these belts off, covers off, and then I might be able to get to it. Annoying. So now I am back to square one a little bit, so can't figure out this oil pressure thing. So the next job now is to take the sump off and have a look at the pickup, which involves lifting the engine back up so that you can actually get to the bolts that are at the back there. So that's a bit of a nightmare. So engine mounts back off, lifted it up, and yeah, so now I'm going to get the sump off. Well, I got the sump off, and yeah, no issues there. Strainer looks fine, it's clean enough. Pickup's fine, there's nothing blocked. I don't know if that's a stock one or an aftermarket one. The inside of the sump was clean enough. No sludge. Well, there's a little bit of sludge in the bottom, but like thick oil sludge as opposed to, and I wouldn't even say it's that thick. So yeah, basically nothing alarming. So yeah, nightmare. I'm going to put this sump back on and then think of something else, I guess. Had all the timing cover and everything back off again, and all the belt and tensioners and stuff like that, because I needed to get to the oil pump here and check the release valve to see if that was stuck. It wasn't stuck, so I took the oil pump off completely, which meant taking all of this off fully. Checked that the pump was alright, there was no issues or anything, nothing was blocked, and to be honest with you, everything looked great. So I put it all back on, put all the cam gear back on, and I'm going to crank it over now and see if it helps, if something changed, anything changed. Figured out the oil pressure thing. I managed to, there's two plugs on the bottom of the oil pump, and I managed to prime it via those. A bit cheating, but it worked, so happy days. And then obviously the no start issue, the no spark thing, turned out to be the earth here on the ignition module, or igniter, some people call it. And I've literally just bypassed it and it fired straight up. So stuck the rad back on, some coolant, and it's running good. I'm just going to see if it'll drive.
So engine's all back in and running, as you can see, which is pretty impressive. It sounds really good, runs nice. Yeah, just super smooth, so I'm really pleased with it. It sounds crazy with this massive exhaust on the back that you can get your whole foot in. It was a bit of a gamble at this point, you know, buying a car, especially an Impreza as well, with these engines that had been stood for so long that didn't run. It was a bit of a gamble, but I'm happy to say that this one runs good.
So the starter motor packed up annoyingly, and So I'm under here. I'm just going to get that bolt there, drop this out, stick a new one in. That one's very dead. Well, that's not right.
So we got the starter motor swapped out, got the right one eventually. And now this starts up loads better than it did before. It doesn't really struggle. It always seemed to struggle like it had got a flat battery, but you kind of expect it for a starter motor that's been sat for 16 years.
So I'm just wiring up the fog lights on the car, and for the UK spec ones, if it comes from Japan, it doesn't have a fog light built in, and they generally bolt up that ugly sort of aftermarket fog light on the back, and then the switch is not in the car, it's just an aftermarket switch. So what I've done is I've got a regular front fog light switch, and I want to use that as a rear. So I bought a rear as well, but they're non-latching, so you can't just use that. It has to be a latching switch. And I'm just swapping out the little indicators so it'll all look factory, and then we just got to wire it in. So that was the fog light. I've cut off all the rusty bits already, but basically the fog light didn't work, and that's why. So because it's a Jap import, this is just like an added on, it's not one in the lights. So I am going to rewire this reverse light to be a fog light and keep that reverse light. So that's all working and good. Harry just gave me a hand, and we fixed the boot latch, so it wasn't working on the little thing, on the little lever in here. That works, but this wasn't working, and it turned out all it was this little guy here was just bent out this way a bit, so we bent it back. Jobs are good, works. So pull the rear bumper off, just so I can get to the other side. We need to do the arch and stuff. Obviously you've got to weld an arch in there, so the bumper needs to come off, and I knew there was welding behind as well. So there is a load of repair in there, and basically that panel. I could do with that whole panel there, but I don't think I'm going to find it. And then uncut that out and replace it with this guy. And then the other side is loads better condition, so I won't really have to do anything because this is all perfect, and that's all good. And there's a bit of surface rust here, and then I think it'll want a patch there, which is easy enough to do, but the rest of it's alright and good condition. It'll just clean up and get some rust treatment and stuff on it. Well, that's the rear arch outer skin cut out as much as I want to cut it out. That's the repair panel, which is bigger than what I've taken out, but I only want to take out as much as I absolutely have to. I'm just going to have to do quite a bit of repairs on the inner arch before I can put an outer arch on, and obviously all that, and the sill. That's the sill off, and the inner sill's not too bad. A bit of straightening up there, and then you've got surface rust, which will all clean up, and obviously I've got to finish cleaning up the seam, sorry. And then at the back here, that's been absolutely annihilated and jacked off, so that'll all want straightening out. That needs coming off. And then I'll straighten all this out and then put in a patch there, make it a bit stronger, and then basically it's the inner arch section that's the pain. And the outer sill can run along there. I'll clean up all the edge on the bottom and the top so I can get a nice weld. Taking the drivers and passenger wings off, ready for the new ones to come. So many rusty bits. I've just wire brushed this corner up. You can see the surface rust's gone there, so I'll paint up nice, and then we just got this bit here, so I'm going to have to stick a patch in here and to take up that bit there, but otherwise this side's in good state. That's it all cut out, so no more rust. There we go, new metal welded in, old metal on the floor. And that's it with the first coat of Buzzweld rust encapsulator. I'll stick another coat on that when that's dry. But that's this side done. So getting ahead of myself, I've managed to make the repair I needed to in this corner, and then I've just laid the sill on after cutting it up, and I'm just working my way along the top now, closing up that edge, and then I'll do the same along the bottom, and we'll have a sill, and then onto that. Alright, I've got that panel to go in there to replace that. So I'm just starting to drill out the spot welds across the top there. I'm going to pick it away here. Hopefully it'll come away reasonably easily. There it is, all cut out. Drop that in there. So I painted up the new wing with rust encapsulator, just around the edges and then on the inside, give it the best chance of not rotting away. And then once that's happened, it's getting some gal primer or zinc primer again from Buzzweld, and then it'll get all rubbed down and everything, and then we've got some black to go on again from Buzzweld. Picking up a template, I think I'm going to replace this whole piece. This is rusty at the bottom, so I might just cut it out, replace that whole thing. So I'm just making a template now of that. Okay, I've got that piece made up to go in there to replace that. Then I've got just a little section that's going to go in there that I'll shape, and then I'll end up having to make this lower bit, and it goes down quite a bit. But I won't know what that looks like, and then obviously I've got that panel that's going to go in there. So I'm going to start cutting out these bits, ready for these to go in. That's all the rusty bits cut out. Well, for now, I've still got a bit more there to do, but I want to get this all figured out shape-wise. First bit welded in, and the main rear panel welded in there. I've spot welded it or plug welded it along the top, and then just added in a couple of extra little tacks here because that panel could float, and then seam welded it down the back. I've just got to weld on the underside now, so I'm going to get this on the ramp so I can get under there. There's the back side welded up, so now I'm going to go into the wheel arch and infill that piece that's completely missing, and then obviously completely replace this. And there's a bit that comes down there which could have been included in this panel but wasn't, that just goes in there like that, and that's this rear corner done. Alright, here we go. So I'm going to cut out this section here, obviously, because it's very rusty. So I'm going to cut it out. This bit's good here, so I'm probably going to keep that because it's got the pressing in it. So I'm going to cut straight down there, get rid of that, refill that in, then refill this bit in and that bit. There we go then, that's all that welded in now. Absolute nightmare getting in there and welding up here. Back on yourself in a tiny little wheel well. Welding that there on the back side was a nightmare. But no more rust. Got some paint on this rear end. Now it's still welded in, looking good. And then I've painted the inside as well, you can kind of see. So that's not going to rust again. Rear jack mount repaired and welded and painted, and then I've sort of just stuck a bit of paint on the rest of the inside of the sill and on the outside because that's all done now. Just waiting for the inner arch panel to come, and then we've got the outer arch. That could be done, and then get in there. Just using Buzzweld chassis guard on the back of the Impreza on these chassis rails where the bumpers go in, and you can't get anything. Whereas with this, I can stick the gun on jet and then just fire it in there, all the way in as far as I can get it to go. Stop it from rusting out from the inside. Get it all the way in there. Right, so my inner arch panel has arrived, which means I can take that rusty bit out, which I'm in the process of doing, and then get it welded in there. That's the inner arch welded in now, so just got the outer one to put on. There's the outer skin tacked in, ready to weld up. All welded in. Just need to grind it all back now, finish. There we go, all finished. No more welding. We'll build back up on that corner, so she's ready to have the bumper go back on. Just going to spray some of this on there, stop her from rusting, and then we're good to go. Bolted the rear bumper back on. Chucked a skin of filler, body filler on there, ready to get sanded off. Started cutting it out there along the bottom, like that, because that's rusted out. And then we'll build up this corner once that bottom bit's in. That's that horrible little patch welded in there. That's fun. Patch 2 on that corner, so now we just need to build in the bodywork corner. There we go, one corner welded in. Just need to bodywork it. There we go, not bad. And a light skim on that as well. It's come out nice. So I need to take a look at these rusty bits. Got that guy there. Get the windscreen out. Managed to pop the screen out relatively easily. And the bottom where it seals is immaculate and looks good, but actually hasn't sealed ever. So that's fresh paint, but it has a bit here, and here it was just sealed into the headlining, so I'm guessing, not a headline, in the parcel shelf, so cool. And then obviously we've got a hole here, and a bit of rust there. Hopefully that bit's solid, and then we can just fix this. The surface rust all here that wants cleaning back. And then we've got this bit here. It's rusted away. This bit seems a bit soft here. Don't know what that tab's for anyway. Oh. Okay, so yeah, we can clean all that up and weld that back in. I use this hole as a good excuse to get some chassis guard in the back here, and it will run down, hopefully in the arch area.
So taking care of all the rusty patches and bits and bobs now, cutting out the rust, welding in fresh steel everywhere that there's a rusty patch. And there are a bunch of random rusty patches, like on the boot lid and around the windscreen. At the front of the car, had to take the front windscreen out to take care of some rust down the sort of A-pillar. You can see it's pretty rusty in places, but just very, very localised. It's obviously where the water pools. Managed to break the screen taking it out as well, which I wasn't over the moon about. Same again, RCP, and then I got a brand new windscreen professionally fitted, and yeah, it looks the part.
Here we go, one shiny new screen. Just got to put the trims down the side, and then all the wipers and the scuttle and everything back on here. So we just painted up, well, brushed up and painted up any bits that we think need rust protection, although it's pretty good under here now. So we're just going to cover that with some black as well, and then get onto the chassis guard. There we go, it's all black now. So we're going to get on putting some chassis guard on now. It's quite a messy job this, but it's getting the job done. So we've just got to clean the exhaust down obviously. Yeah. But we can get everywhere. And I can kind of do it from here, if you shine torch. There. Nice. There we go, it's MOT ready now. Just gotta get it booked in and we can take it. Well, didn't go all to plan. Got back after the MOT, put the car in the garage, keep it dry, and the brand new clutch slave cylinder has decided to shit itself. Right, so done a few miles in it now and pretty much everything's good. I just want to, a couple of things. We've got like a misfire under hard pulls, obviously, because it's a Subaru. So I've got an injector and a coil pack, new ones, to basically just go through and figure out what's up with that. But at the same time, I'm going to swap out the oils. So I'd put the recommended fudge, however you want to say it, oil in it, but I don't like it. The oil pressure drops way too much once it's warm. It drops from like 60 psi or 65 psi way down to like 18, and I really don't like that. So I'm going to go with what I know, and that's Swepco. It's good shit. And I spoke to Mark at Swepco in the UK, and he's given me a couple of different ones to try out. So I've got 306, which is the same type, but then a 1540, which is the recommended, but then also a 2050, and then I've also got some diff and gearbox oil as well to go in, which is what we use in the race car. So I'm going to get them in with his help. Just under here, about to do the oil changes and stuff. Thought I'd show you the underside now that the chassis guard's dried, how nice it looks. See how shiny it is and how well protected and everything is. It looks really good. Right, start the engine up. So that's just finishing draining. You can see how thin it is. I don't really like it. It's worn, but yeah. So we'll get it swapped for some Swepco. Oh, awesome! Cool. Wicked. Nice. I'm going to start with a 1540 because that is the recommended grade, and I've got a new genuine oil filter here, so I'm just going to fill this up and then chuck it back on, stick some plug back in, and get that in. Filter back on there and some plug back in, but I'm going to drain the gearbox oil and swap the diff oil while I'm here. So going up and down and up and down and up and down the ramp. It's the gearbox oil coming out. Looks in good condition, to be honest. Yeah, generic gold stuff, but it looks plenty clear enough, which is good. Diff oil out. Diff oil in. Engine oil going in, gearbox oil going in. So with the Swepco 1540 at cold, it's about 5.5 kPa currently, which is nice. And then we'll see what it's like when it's up to temp at about 90 degrees. barn find, 16-year-old stood up, genuine barn find out here in the Welsh country, to what is a usable car now. So we put a few miles on it. Haven't done anything particularly amazing with it, just a few runs with it. Haven't even cleaned it, to be honest with you. The inside's still messy. The outside, I haven't even cleaned the windows. But we've got a workable car, a car that runs and drives good, and has cost us a lot less than if we'd have bought this car from somebody who's already using it, you know, if it was already on the road and stuff. Plus we know that the welding's good, we know that the engine's good, and that it's had a full service and all that sort of stuff. So we've got a good car, really pleased with it. Drives great, puts a smile on my face, makes all the right noises, and quite nostalgic. All done. Doesn't look amazing, obviously, because the paintwork's not brilliant, but I don't mind. In the future, when we've got a little bit more money, we can spend the time getting it resprayed. Obviously, it's not a cheap job, and honestly, I want to use the car. I don't want a showpiece, so that's something that can come later on. There's a few things I want to do. I'd like to put a different brake kit on it and stuff like that, but it's all stuff that we can do in the future. I'd really like to actually put some spotlights in here, some little laser lamps integrated into this old school grille. They do a really nice carbon 2, which is a light that we use on, a carbon 6 is what we use on the race car, but they do a 2-bank version of it that will be really nice in there. And yeah, obviously the paint job, but otherwise I'm really happy with it. Everything works. It does what it's supposed to do. All the features inside work, and yeah, it's just a nice car. Really happy with it. Perfect for around here.